All right, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of August, 2023, and this is the Cluster API project meeting. Cluster API is a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidance, which basically means please be kind to each other, and if you'd like to talk, please raise your hand and I will call on you. So at the beginning of our meetings, we like to welcome new attendees, and this is when we break the raise the hand rule. If anyone is new to the community and would like to say hello and introduce yourself, please feel free to unmute and say hi, and I will be quiet for a few seconds. All right, I am not seeing any unmuting, so we'll give people 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll move on to the open proposal readouts then. I think we just have one open proposal, and I don't know, Richard or Fabrizio. I don't know if Fabrizio's here. Is there any update on this one?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I think we're waiting for Jack to be back.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. All right. Well then, let's get into our regular agenda. Furkat, you've got the first item here with some release team updates. So please take it away.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, just on PSA, yesterday we released 1.5.1 and 1.4.6 patch releases. Everything went well thanks to the KP release team, and also special thanks to Cecile for the automation, for pushing the tags, and that worked flawlessly. Thank you.
Awesome. Great to hear. And as always, big kudos to the release team. Thank you. Did we need to discuss this open PR?
Oh, yeah, that's also a quick one. So we are planning to add the owners file to the docs release folder, so that's easier to LGTM and approve the PRs coming up from the release team while releasing, because we'll be touching the changelog file in each release. So there was an idea from Stefan to add the owners file to it. So I got already some LGTMs, but looking for lazy consensus and if it's okay to merge this.
Cool. Sounds good. Are we going to do a 1 week lazy consensus? I don't remember what you said there.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nolan, you've got the next item here.
I think Cecile wants to say something.
Volunteers. Oh, sorry. I didn't see the hands up.
Yeah, I assumed that. Cecile first, please.
Okay.
I think you were maybe going to say the same thing I was going to say. I was just going to clarify because you said we need to change the changelog for cat. I think we already have the release team as owners of the changelog folder, which is a separate folder. As far as I can tell, this PR is adding it to docs/release, which is the release documentation, correct?
Yeah, probably. Then I confused it. I thought it's for changelog. Yeah.
Yeah, we already don't changelog, and that's just for the release docs. I can confirm, and that was also the intention. So that's all good. Yeah, the thing I want just to say is I would be fine to just merge it basically on Monday if nobody complains until then. I mean, the PR is already open since a week or something, so it doesn't matter that much, I think, because nobody's waiting that much on it. It's just a matter of that release team can merge PRs quicker for a few days earlier or something like that. But yeah, it's
does this need an update then, or is this good the way it is?
I think it's okay. It doesn't matter that much if you wait like 2 days more.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on that topic before I rush on here? Okay. Cecile, thank you for approving it. Okay, Nolan, you got a topic about Kappa here. Please take it away.
Yeah, I apologize if this is not the right venue. I just wanted to ask in person about the Kappa volunteer thread on Slack and see if there's any movement there. I think, Richard, you were on PTO for a little while, so.
Yeah. So yeah, basically because being on holiday, it's fallen off the radar. So I will send out a doodle to arrange a time. I'll also put it on the agenda for Monday's Kappa office hours, just to remind people, and yeah, we can get that kicked off. I'd say the same also applies if anyone's interested in CapG as well. We can do the same there as well, because CapG is also in need of some love. So if you want to help with just your first contributions or help reviewers, if you've been doing that, let me know on that as well. Yeah, then we'll sort that out.
I will just give a heads up, Richard, that Monday is a holiday in the US, so attendance might be a little. Was that what you were going to say, Nolan?
Yeah.
In that case, I'll send the doodle out. I'll add it to the next agenda item because we'll probably potentially cancel the Monday meeting. Cool. Thanks for raising that.
Okay, great. Okay. Anything else on that topic? Okay, great. Killian, you've got the next topic with a PSA. Please take it away.
Sure. Yeah, so this has been mentioned a bunch of times in meetings, but V1 Alpha 3 is deprecated. It's being removed completely in the 1.6 release of Cluster API. There's a PR open to remove all the code that supports V1 Alpha 3, including the types. A lot of people, I'm not sure who, but we had this in vSphere, might import these types right now. So just a PSA to be ready to remove anything that relies on V1 Alpha 3 Cluster API types in the 1.6 release. It might be a big-ish transition. It will be, at least in CapV for vSphere, because we import a lot of these. So it's mostly just removing code. But yeah, I just wanted to give folks another reminder that that's going to happen. So 1.6 will be released at the end of November. So to adapt that, you'll have to, get rid of your V1 Alpha 3 imports. And the same will happen with V1 Alpha 4 in the following release 1.7.
So I have a question, but I don't think I can really raise my hand here. And maybe this is like, maybe this is a really basic question, but like if, and I guess it probably shouldn't be this way, but if a provider was maintaining in their like version metadata that they would have a V1 Alpha 3 contract for a historical version, do those historical versions need to be bumped as well, or would that depend on an old version of Cluster API?
I can't speak for all providers or anything like that, but yeah, in general, that would be an older version of Cluster API, I would assume.
Okay.
Right, cool. I don't know why anybody would keep using V1 Alpha 3 while using Cluster API 1.6.
I mean, yeah, right. Yeah.
But maybe they would. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you. Any other questions on that topic? I see Stefan, you've got your hand up, and Cecile, you're first.
Oh, I was just going to add to what you're discussing with Killian. So the providers define a contract in their release artifacts, which should, like, if they're using the V1 Alpha 3 contract, they should be using an older version of Cluster API that has V1 Alpha 3. So I wouldn't expect them to use V1 Alpha 3 of the provider with the newer versions of Cluster API.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just my confusion. I was just thinking, where might I see that value? Stefan, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you probably can go as far as saying that the metadata is probably wrong if you do that. Combine like running latest Cluster API with an old API version, because basically the idea was that as soon as you start using 1.0 copy, you actually also use V1 beta 1, because otherwise you end up with a bunch of weird stuff that might still work. But I mean, you can still use the V1 Alpha API, V1 Alpha 3 API types, for example, to retrieve machines. But I'm not sure if you can actually like followed a Vue and Beta 1 contract or something doing it that way. So maybe technically possible, but almost nobody should actually have done that. But let's see what Vince is saying.
Cool.
Following up on your comment, I guess, like I was gonna say, like, if we can spell that out in English, we can probably also like code it somehow, check in clusterctl to basically say, hey, like you cannot install this with v16 and it's actually not supported. Just contact the maintainers of that provider. It would solve a lot of trouble for the for users.
Yeah, totally. Like a good, easy way to see when you've like, need to update something or miss something or whatever. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that topic? All right. I'm not seeing anyone. So Daniel, I think you got the next one. Cluster CTL needs a GitHub API token. So please take it away.
Do you mind bringing that up on the
Oh yeah, sorry. Apologies.
No, thanks. Yeah, so there is, Cluster Cuddle needs a GitHub token, it uses the GitHub API to fetch various release artifacts. When you don't have a token, then those requests are rate limited, I guess, pretty severely, and that's been affecting end-to-end tests for Kappa, and I think maybe Cappy itself, and maybe other infrastructure providers. And I know that there was, we were trying to ask for a GitHub token, and that didn't seem to bear fruit, at least not yet. And there was a change to Cluster Cuddle that already merged. It's not released, but it merged to use the HTTP. So not the GitHub API, I guess not the GitHub API, but just regular, I guess, HTTP. Well, I don't know how to describe it exactly. Just the URLs to the release artifacts, rather than asking the API to fetch them. And I'm wondering if there's a likelihood that that'll get backported, because I know that at least for Kappa, the end-to-end tests for older Kappa versions are equally affected, and we can't move older Kappa versions to the latest version of Cappy. So just wanted to see how that's looking, or what the plan is, maybe.
Yeah, as might be expected, this is drawing many raised hands. So Stefan, you're up first. Please take it away.
Yep. Just want to start with an overview. So so our request for GitHub token didn't really get a lot of traction since, like, I don't know, March or something. But I think the latest was essentially that we get an answer like from 2 days ago from some people from VMware that we pinged like a few days before. And they are actually part of like the GitHub admin team of Kubernetes. So on one side, I'm relatively hopeful that we get some movement on the GitHub token and that we will be able to get that soon. And I think it's something that we definitely need, because we can totally independent discuss backporting this, but in core cluster API, we are actually using Cluster Cuddle 1.0 to consider compatibility. And also on the 1.4 branch, we're using 1.2 and 1.3. And I think we shouldn't start releasing new Cluster Cuddle 1.0, 1.2, 1.3 versions. So for core cluster API, in any case, we'll need a token. So that's on the GitHub token in the pro shop front. And I think, now it's basically the point, should we backport we're not using the GitHub API anymore, PRs to 1.4 and 1.5. And I would probably frame it like to make everyone's life easier. So for me, the PRs are like pretty safe and fine. I even tested them locally, so with debugger and stuff. So I think it's relatively low risk. I think the only reason to not backport them is that we probably technically don't find a category that it currently falls under in our backporting policy, which is not like a showstopper for me. So I think if we generally agree that it's useful, and I mean, useful for us, useful for, we can move all that stuff to the pro cluster, and then either say that's a one-time exception or modify our policy accordingly, then I would be fine with backporting those two PRs for 1.5 and 1.4.
Richard, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so related to this, there is a change being made to Prowl to allow more egress IPs. I'll put the link in here as well. So that will alleviate some of the problem with all of the requests coming from a single IP address. But obviously that's going through the Prowl stroke test infra channels.
Okay, sounds like a complicated issue, but maybe we're on our way to a solution. And I guess I don't know. Do we want to put? Did you put this in the? Did you link this in the issue or the agenda, Richard?
I put it in the chat of the Zoom meeting, but I can put it into the doc.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments on this topic? It doesn't look like it. So Dan, follow up on the Carpenter feature group from last week. Please take it away.
Yeah, I was on PTO last week, so of course a topic near and dear to what I'm doing sort of day to day at Adobe came up while I wasn't here. So I just wanted to throw our hat in the ring. We are one of, I guess, the small handful of folks that is the center part of the Venn diagram of Cappy, Kappa, and Carpenter. And right now we're trying to get our hands around what might be required to actually make these two things play nicely together. So we'd be more than happy to help out on this in any way. With all of the warnings, of course, that I've never written a line of code for Cappy or Kappa. So like, sorry.
No worries,
but
Dan.
I know my way around at least a little bit, and I'm trying to get my arms around how it all works right now, so I can maybe try and put together a proposal for how this might look. But of course, I will need a lot of input from you all to help me with that. But we're happy to kind of step up and take a bit of a lead on this.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So like the next steps, just to kind of recap what we talked about last week, the next steps, I was going to put up a doodle poll just to try to find a good time when those of us who are interested in this could kind of like talk about next steps. And then cool. I think what you're talking about is perfect. Like, I don't think we know yet, like what we want to do in terms of like how Carpenter could interact with Cluster API. It's like, yeah, maybe there's a way just to use it with AWS and that's all good. Or maybe we read a Cluster API provider or something. Yeah. I think the questions you're asking are exactly the questions that I'm curious to answer too. And so I think, cool. Yeah, it's probably going to take a couple weeks, I think, to get this arranged, but maybe like in 2 weeks. So sometime in mid-September, perhaps we could have a meetup just to talk about, yeah, what do we want to do as a group? And then, yeah. And if we think there's enough interest there to kind of start a feature group, and I'm not sure we have a lot of process around that, then I would expect that we could start a little feature group. And, if Adobe wants to take leadership on that, I think that's awesome. We can just kind of figure out where we want to go and what we want to do next. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thanks for bringing that up, Dan. All right, so now we're going into the provider updates. Christian, you've got one update on CapV, so please take it away.
Yeah, just a short PSA. After the release of CapV yesterday, we released CapV 181 today, which picks up the latest CapV release. It also adds support for Kubernetes v128 from CI perspective, from supporting perspective. And yeah, basically that's already it.
Cool, thank you. So it looks like that brings us to the end of our regular agenda. Does anyone have ad hoc topics or other things they would like to add before we go here? We could take back about 25 minutes of our day. So I'm not seeing any hands going up. So in 3, 2, 1. All right. Thanks for coming out, everyone. And I guess we will see you all next week.